Um, Director General Dr. Sanginga, my friend and brother and colleague, and for many, many years, I don't call him a brother anymore. He's pretty much my twin brother at this point. The Deputy Director Generals of IITA, and I see my old colleague and friend Kwame here. It's great to see you. And Ken Dashiel, these are the people that actually built a lot of the work that we see in the northern Guinea savannah of Nigeria when I used to be at IITA here. It's great to see you. The directors of IITA, I see Asiedu, and I was just joking with the DG, and I said, you have so many regional director here. I said, you're becoming like the Africa Development Bank. so I said, Chidi, just next to you. So let me also say that I'm delighted to see a number of old faces, friends, and in fact, that also had a great role in my career here this morning. I see my former boss, Dr. Namanga Ngongi, president of AGRA, when I was vice president. It's good to see you here. I see Karen Brooks, and I worked a long time when she was in World Bank. It's good to see you now in your new role. Let me also welcome all the others that are here, in particular Chidi. Chidi and I go back many years, and he is doing an outstanding job as the Director for Agriculture and Agro-Industry at the Africa Development Bank. And let me say very clearly that when you think about institutions that have a great role to play and a strategic role to play in mapping the directions of the future for this country, no institution is more important in doing that than the African Development Bank. Let me also welcome the IFAD colleagues. Jonas is here. Jonas used to be, many of you knew Jonas from here. We used to have the alley farming work. He's at the Africa Development Bank, and the rest of your colleagues, I'm delighted that you're here. But also AGRA colleagues, some of my former colleagues, the Africa Rice Center, I see you here, IFAD, and several others that have been participating and supporting you all. And let me also welcome my own staff that have come with me to this particular meeting. But today in particular, I want to focus on this great institution. IITA is a very unique institution and one that is actually quite personal for me, because it was actually my father-in-law, Dr. Olaron Toba, when he was Federal Permanent Secretary of Agriculture, that gave IITA this land here. And he was also your first vice chairman of the board of IITA. And the kind of research that goes on here is just transformational. It is right out of here that the biological control program started to deal with the problems of the cassava mealybugs and all of that. Whether it is the dealing with problems of banana bacterial wilt, whether it is pushing soybean in the northern Guinea savannah of Nigeria and many other countries, whether it is maize, drought-tolerant maize, whether it is pro-vitamin A cassava, whether it is pushing yams that for a long time, as Siedu, from his young days, now he's graying here, he's still there. Every great thing that you find in tropical agriculture, benefiting with huge spillover effects all across Africa, is coming right out at this institution here. And you ought to be enormously proud, because I am proud to have been a staff of this great institution. And I'm enormously proud of what you're doing. And that's why the federal government will continue to very strongly support the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. And I want to ask all the donors that are here, you can never invest in a better place than investing here. When Dr. Sanginga was talking, he said the board decided, well, who did we hire? When you started talking about your agribusiness work and all of that. Let me say they hired a very visionary and smart person. because agriculture is not just about science of it. You can get the technologies out. You got to get it out on farmers' field. And by the way, I see Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I see Jacob here. Welcome, and thanks for your support. Yeah, yeah. But at the end of the day, the technologies that stay on farmers' field, it's not enough. The technology has to go out. And as I look right back, I see Professor Fajemi Singh, who has been a long mentor of many of us here. And I think all those maize varieties that we have in Nigeria from your early work and the striga-resistant maize that many of you did is what is leading to a lot of work we are doing today. So thank you very much, sir, for your contributions. So I was saying that one of the things that we have to understand is that agriculture is more than just producing stuff. We've got to get technologies off the shelf and get it out into the farmer's field. And one of the things that informed my thoughts and directions on this, even as a minister, was an experience I had when I was a young scientist. I was just starting my international career at the International Crops Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics, ICRISAT. I was posted out to Mali from India, and I was with a breeder at the time. And we went out to Sikasso in Mali, and we wanted to push high-yielding varieties of sorghum, the short-statured varieties of sorghum for the farmers in Mali. And we were so excited about it on our way that we were sure these farmers are going to really be celebrating after we've done this. So we got over there, and the head of the farmers, they call them Dugutigi, chief. It's like the Seki Noma here, the head of the farmers group. So we got over there, and we showed him all these short-statured varieties, fantastic yields. And I was looking at him because he didn't seem to be too excited. And I was beginning to wonder why. So he said, well, he wants to take us on a small tour of the village. So we went on a small tour, and we got over there. He opened one granary after the other. And every single granary was filled to the brim with sorghum. He turns to us and says, does ICRISAT buy sorghum? And I said, no, ICRISAT doesn't buy sorghum. He says, the day ICRISAT can find somebody that will buy our sorghum, we can come back with our short-statured varieties of sorghum. And from that time, myself, the breeder, we worked very hard in ICRISAT to make sure that ICRISAT understood that it was time to change the paradigm from just technology, supply-driven technologies, to actually starting from the market, looking for what the derivatives are for what sorghum can be used for, and working your way backwards. And so when you said that you were starting that, and people wondered, that's why I was saying that they hired a very smart person who understands that success will come from the market as you work your way back into technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, let me give you a personal story of mine while I'm here. And when people talk about minister and so on and all the great things that people say, it's not just me. I've got lots of great staff. I've got very committed people working day and night. Some of them came out of this institution. Many of you know Professor Shiname is an old man. I got him out of retirement. I see Dr. Ajala here and so many of them that are working. So please clap for them, not just me. They are people to know. But my personal story is important because I want to share it today. The day today I dedicate to the young people that are here. And where are they here? Please stand. Yeah. As I watched the video, I had a little bit of goose pimples in my body because I could see a future, a totally different future from where we are today. And you guys are the ones that are going to take on the world. Well, please sit down. Let me tell you my story. When I wanted to go to school, I started school so young. And I finished my high school at the age of 14. And when I finished, I didn't know what to do. At the age of 14, what do you do? I didn't even know how to fill forms for university. So my father filled the forms for me all the time. So every time he filled the forms, he would say, the first choice is medicine. The second choice is vet medicine. And the third choice was dentistry. So I applied to the University of Ibadan. When I applied there, I passed the exams. They used to have, what do you call it, common concessional exams, yes. And they said, but your grades are not enough for the medical school, but we'll take you for agriculture. Now, remember, my father was a farmer. And he grew up, he didn't go to school until he was 14 years old. In fact, the only reason he went to school was because an uncle of his came to this town, and my father attached himself to him and said, please, I can't read and write, and I'm 14 years old. Can you please take me to Lagos? So he took him to Lagos, sent my dad to school. That's how my dad eventually, get great education, retired as a government auditor. That's why I'm here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I would be maybe carrying some banana on my head somewhere. So my dad, you can understand, panicked. He said, no, you can't go to agriculture. That's where I'm coming from, And so he said, go to your A-levels. So I spent my first year in A-levels. And I took the exams again. And I passed again. But my dad filled the form, same thing. Medicine, vet medicine, and dentistry. They said he would take me again for agriculture. My dad refused. So he said, go to the A-levels and finish your second year of A-levels. And I did. When I finished, I applied again to the university. Same thing. They said, we will take you for agriculture. So 3 years in a row, my dad then said to me, God must really want you in agriculture. And I want to say that when I eventually got my PhD, I was so happy. I came to my dad with my PhD in my hand. I said, Dad, I'm a doctor now. So agriculture is very exciting. Let me say that the world, Africa today is rising. No doubt about it. 6 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world are right here on this continent, in Africa. Nigeria happens to be the 4th fastest growing economy in the world. But as we talk about that, we must also look at some dynamics that are happening around us here. In Africa, we have roughly 200 million youth. That means that Africa today is you can say, a youthful continent. That is really a continent of the youth, like yourself. But if you take a look at the working population age, anything between age of 15 and 64, that bracket is growing rapidly by about 13 million people every single year in Africa. So which means by about 2050, you'll have about 1 billion people within that particular bracket. What's particularly insightful to pay attention to is that those that are within the age of 15 and 24 account for 11 million of those 13 million that are entering that particular workforce. But the situation for them is not pretty. It's not pretty because 75% of them are living on less than $2 a day. The situation is not pretty because the labor markets are not working enough to actually absorb this huge and expanding population that we have of youth. Okay, everybody talks about GDP growth, and so it's fantastic. You need GDP growth. But if I might ask you this morning, did you eat GDP before coming here? And nobody eats it. We've got to make sure that what we do, economies in Africa grow in such a way, it's not only inclusive, but it must make sure that we are able to get our young people employed. Take a look at the Arab Spring. It happened. Economies were growing, AAA ratings, everything was fine. And all of a sudden, boom, the whole thing went. So we will not have in Africa social cohesion. We cannot have sustainable and durable development unless we can create massive amount of quality jobs for a lot of our young people that are coming today out of our universities. Now, back home here where we are, in the last 10 years, roughly 20 million people have entered, youth have entered the labor force. Majority of those are very skilled, just like many of you here. But the unemployment rate has doubled from 12.7% in 2006 to about 24% by 2011. You look at majority of those that have gone to universities like you all have gone to, almost 56% of those people can't really find the kind of jobs they want. I mean, they may be in the kind of job, but it's not the kind of job they want to do. And so the issue of people get discouraged and all of that, and there's so many reasons for that. But I also want to say that I'm particularly worried about the situation of the rural youth, because the unemployment rate among the rural youth is even higher than among the urban youth. It's about 37%. And so you look at it, most of the people that are unemployed today are those that have secondary and post-secondary education. In Nigeria today, 53% of those in the secondary and post-secondary education are the ones that are unemployed. If you look at the urban rate, it's 33% of those within that secondary, post-secondary education. If you look at the rural sector, it's 55% of those within that particular sector. So what does that really mean? That means that the rate of return to education, the social rate of return to education is low. And in some areas, maybe it will be trending towards negative. So why will you want to go to school if after doing all of that, you can't get a job, and so you are trying to tell somebody else to send their kids to school? So that is that issue. There is another trend, which is a mismatch between the skills that people have and what the labor market actually needs. In fact, in most cases you find today in Africa, it is the employability issue that is most important. In other words, do people have the skills that are needed by the labor market? I will argue in most cases no, because the university system that we inherited is a system that actually trains people to work for others. The university system doesn't train people to have skills, hard technical skills, yes, but the soft skills you need, the entrepreneurship skills you need to actually create businesses.